こんにちは、皆さん。今日、私たちは日本語を勉強しています。質問があれば、私に聞いてください。Greetings, everyone. Today we are studying Japanese. If you have any questions, then feel free to ask me at any time. I want to continue with immersion with Card Captor Sakura. Kinose kana. So, say would be cause. So that makes okay. So, say is cause. So ki is no like air, atmosphere, mood. So the cause of this or feeling essentially. Let's see, and then kana is like a way of like saying something and the fact that you're like thinking about it. Uh, Usually ka gets used in the question, so you might interpret it as like what causes this feeling, but it's more like the cause of this feeling. Like you're saying it in a question kind of way. See, that's interesting. It translates the expression as one's imagination. I don't think that's a. Let's see, K. Where's that word? I thought K was cause. Oh, sorry, not. No wonder I typed it wrong. It's say, not K. So, nature, person, sex, gender. No, it's not that say. It's, please explain the grammar of. There's the kanji for it. Here we go. Consequence, outcome, result, blame, fault. If something's at the fault of something, something's the cause of something. And then key is the the mind, air, spirit, atmosphere, mood. So the cause of this atmosphere, or the fault of this atmosphere, or in English you might say something like this feeling, like all of a sudden you get this strange feeling, and you don't know why. So, kinosei kana.
気のせいかな。シンデレラ、このままあなたを返したくありません。
シンデレラ、このままあなたを返したくありません。So let's see. So, 返す is to return, like you're returning an object. But this is 返したく, which is 返したい. And then conjugated into its adverbial form, 返したく. So, want to returnly. So, あります. So, want to returnly does not have or does not exist. So, does not want to return you. So, あなた then, let's see, Cinderella, このまま. I think it's trying to say something like, as for Cinderella, how the way things were before does not want to return does not want to return you. What? Let's see. Please explain the grammar of you'll say oh no, this is supposed to be Yoko. Okay, so yeah, Yoko's saying this. Kuna mama, an adverbial phrase meaning like this, in this state. So anata, okay, the anata will, object of will, okay. Kayashitaku arimasen, the core predicate meaning do not want to return, to send back. So kayasu, to send back. Taku, okay, yeah. So as for send, okay, so is the particles missing from this sentence? I'm trying to figure out, does Kono Mama have ga after it, or is it actually being used more adverbally, just sitting out there? Yeah, it would usually be wa in front of Cinderella. Okay. Konomama. This acts as an adverbial phrase and in this state and does not require a particle. Okay, so it uh, it describes the verb of not wanting to send back. So they're not just saying don't want to send you back. I don't want to send you back in this state. This state likely referring to their emotional state. So, シンデレラ、このままあなたを返した、okay, 返したく。So, シンデレラ、このままあなたを返したくありません。
シンデレラ、このままあなたを返したくありません。
でもラーメン作んないと。
でも、ラーメン作んないと。So, let's see. Oh, this is from Skudu. Skudu gets conjugated to skudinai, but then there is a simplification said when speaking the word to skunai. That's only done with raw ending negatives like this. Skunai. And then to. So more literally, there's like but with making, but if I, with not making ramen, or in other words, if I don't make ramen, implying that something negative will happen. Yeah, this is a reference to the earlier line in which she was told that she needed to make ramen for supper later that evening. Demo ramen tsukunai to.
ありません。
でもラーメン作んないと。
どうか私の妃に。
どうか私の妃に. So let's see. Doka is some way to my princess or my queen. So in other words, this is probably a casual way of saying it since the verbs are obvious and you don't need to say them. It's like I think somehow I want to make you my princess. Or my queen. The word can translate into both, so just pick whatever's appropriate. Wait, please, by my side? Why is the translator choosing that? Like, for example, in this sentence, probably some conjugation of naru or suru would be the best for it. Basically saying that he wants to make her his princess. Oh, okay. I was misinterpreting doka. Okay, so its literal definition is some way, but the way it's being used, it's like saying "I beg of you" or "please" or "kindly." Like in other words, some way do something, or in other words, what you'd say in English like "please" or "I beg of you," because of that nuance, how that nuance transfers over. But in some ways, it's more literal definition. Interesting. Kisaki can also mean wife, since in the case, since it has that dual nuance of being both princess and the prince's wife. 'Let's see. While both translate to princess, there is a distinction. Hime generally refers to the daughter of a ruler, a biological princess, or is used as a polite term for a young lady. Kisaki refers to the wife of a ruler, a queen, consort, or empress, or high-ranking royal spouse. Doka watashi no kisaki ni, or somehow I want to make you my wife, or please, I beg you, become my wife.
このままあなたを返したくありません。
でもラーメン作んないと。
どうか私の妃に。
でもサバ缶が12時までには家に戻れって。
でも、サバ、サバ缶が10、12時までには家に戻れて。So,
でもサバ缶が12時までには家に戻れって。でも
so, but, as for that's canned mackerel until, until midnight would be the interpretation in this case. It says until 12, but it's known from the statistics that midnight would probably be a better translation. So until 12. Wow, that's unusual. Mare ni wa. The three particles being used together. See, let's see. Let's see. Usually they use something else for returning to a home.
妃に。
でもサバ缶が12時までには家に戻れって。
Yes, they use modorete. So normally kaeru is used for returning home, but here they use modoru, which is return, but it's generally not the return used for coming home. Which is probably why he said ie ni modorete, saying that it's for returning home. Since kaeru has that implication already built in. And my guess on why they're using it is they're not just talking about standard returning home, they're talking about like something formal about having to return home. In this case would be like because of the magical spell that they had to return home, some formal reason. Let's just look into that. And then that sute is probably because it is said. So, but it is said by the canned mackerel that I have until midnight to return home. Konnichiwa, Wild Arms 420. Genki desu ka? That may actually be why I use Modoru. Because if you were talking about yourself returning home, you use Kaeru, but because it was, this is about Sabakan or canned mackerel telling him that he has to return home. Then it's just it's essentially it's someone else's statement telling of someone else needing to return home, and so they're using Modoru instead of Kaeru. That would be my guess on why they're doing it that way. And the sute is just quoting it, saying that this was said to Cinderella. Okay. The verb Modoru is used because it emphasizes the action of returning to a previous location home from where the speaker currently is rather than the emotional or permanent concept of going home. Okay. Modoru really means to go back. To place you where you were before. In this context, the speaker is likely at a different location where... Okay, bro. And it's reporting that they need to go back to... Okay, contrasts with Kaeru. While Kaeru generally implies returning home or going home as a final destination, Modoru focuses on the movement back to the starting point of residence. In casual speech, or when emphasizing the act of coming back, especially if it involves turning around or reversing direction, Modoru is often used interchangeably with Kaeru, particularly in phrases like I ni Modoru, nuance of come back, suffix te kuru. In short, Modoru is used here to stress the physical act of returning to home location by a specific deadline, which is common in natural usage in Japanese for coming home. Why wasn't Kaeru used See, Modoru is used instead of Kairu to convey a specific nuance regarding temporariness of the nature of the return. While both can mean to go home, here's why Modoru was likely chosen. Kairu implies returning to your base home as a final destination for the day, finishing work or going home to stay. Modoru implies returning to a location temporarily as a checkpoint with the expectation that you might leave again, or that you are simply retracing your steps. Modoru focuses on the movement or reverse direction of previous point. It sounds more like a command to get back here by a deadline. Maybe that's the reason they're using it here. Sounds more like a command to get back by a deadline. See, Kaeru focuses on the state of being home or the emotional aspect of homecoming. In the context of like a curfew, be back by 12, the speaker emphasizes the act of returning to a location by a specific time, marking modore, the imperative modoru, a natural choice. It sounds slightly more like return to base rather than go home for the night. So basically, it sounds more like a restriction to use modoru instead of kaeru. So demo. Yeah. Demo sabakan ga juji. Okay. Juniji. Okay. Demo sabakan ga Juniji mare ni wa ie ni modorete. Oh yes, that's the other thing. Why were the mare ni wa? Why was all those particles used? Why was mare ni wa used for particles? Wouldn't mare or mare wa been good enough? The particle combination mare ni wa is used instead of mare or just mare wa to convey a specific nuance of a strict deadline combined with emphasis or contrast. Mare until duration. So using ju ni ji mare implies an action continues up until 12 and then stops. Mare ni. Let's see. With just mares, I will study until 12, or Juni ji mare benkyou suru. If you said Juni ji mare modore, it would grammatically mean keep returning continuously until 12. Which makes no sense for a single action like coming home. You need to mark the specific deadline by which the action must be completed. So if you want to say you have a deadline to do something up until 12, you can meet it at any time up to that point, but it has to be done at 12 by 12. Need to tell you it's a specific one-time deadline, and mare to tell you it's up to that point. See, mare need. Okay, this is standard form. By time, it means complete an action at some point before exactly at 12. This is grammatically correct, but it lacks the extra nuance provided by wa. The addition of wa to mare ni adds the emphasis to the time limit and implies a contrast with other times or conditions. It stresses that 12 is the absolute limit. It sounds stricter, like you must be back by 12, no later. Contrast, it can imply you can be late other times, but by 12 specifically, you must be back. In this context of a command like sabaka, okay, you can't get back by, okay. Speaker stresses the straightness of the curfew or the deadline, making mare ni wa the most natural and forceful choice. Okay, so wa is generally used for comparisons, and so there's, to make it sound more forceful, they're saying this time you must be back by 12. Other times you don't necessarily have to be back by 12, but this time you absolutely have to be back by 12. So that comparison nuance of wa makes the deadline sound stricter. So that is why they're using mare ni wa. Demo, サバ缶が12時までには家に戻れて。
でもサバ缶が12時までには家に戻れって。
なんか妙な気配。
でもサバ缶が12時までには家に戻れって。
なんか or something
妙な気配が。
妙な気配が。Oh, 妙な strange, weird, odd, curious. So, kehai, so a strange presence or sensation. So, 妙な気配が。
12時までには家に戻れって。
なんか妙な気配が。シンデレラ、私は。
シンデレラ、私は or Cinderella, I.
シンデレラ、私は。
王子様。
王子様 or Prince.
シンデレラ、私は。
王子様。
See. Shogeki, impact, shock, impulse. So Shogeki N is the impact sound. And yes, when part of a word, this is generally read as in. So Shogeki N, impact sound. And this is made from, let's see, collide, run, highway opposition, thrust, pierce, stab, suku. And then utsu, beat, attack, defeat. Okay, so attack, utsu, and suku. To prick, to stab, to poke. So poking with an attack is an impact, okay. Shogeki, impact, Shogeki, so impact, Shogeki in, okay. Impact sound.
シンデレラ、私は
王子様。
Uh, let's see, something touchy, no. Isn't it bad in a call? Let's see. Ime, shriek, scream, which is made from sad, deploy, regret, so Kinorashi, sad, and then bark, sound, cry. So a sad cry is a shriek or a scream. Or a regret cry. Okay, let's see. Himei and Kankyakutachi. Spectator audience. So look, appearance, condition. Wait, Miru? That's Miru's. Oh, that's an alternative kanji of Miru. Interesting. Let's see, outlook, appearance. So look and then customer is audience. So kankyaku tachi. Tachi makes it plural. So the audience screaming or shrieking. Kankyaku tachi no himei.
兄ちゃん、どうや。
Himei, your audience or shrieking. Zawa Meki. Stir, commotion, noise. Zawa Meki. やっぱりクラウドカード or as I thought a cloud card.
やっぱり黒カード。人が来ないところへ行かないと。
人が来ないところ so people not coming to place. Ikanai, don't go. So in other words, with not going to a place, people don't come. Or in other words, if I don't go to a place, people don't come, which is basically another way of saying we have to go to a place where there isn't anyone. 人が来ないところへ行かないと。
やっぱり黒カード。人が来ないところへ行かないと。さくらちゃん、リー君。いい話や、泣ける話や。
話や。
さくらちゃん、リー君。いい話や、泣ける話や。
I think he said nakeru. Let's see. in nakeru, to shed tears, intransitive. E hanashi ya nakeru hanashi ya. So a good story, a story that makes you cry. Let's see, what a great story. It really makes me want to cry. Hanashi ya nakeru hanashi ya.
さくらちゃん、リーくん、いい話や、泣ける話や。やっぱし親子愛やな。
Keitai denwa no something in a chakushin. Oh, that's right. It's not in. It's own. So that was own before, not in. Okay, so chakushin own. So come, let's see, truth, trust, fidelity, truth, and then sound. So the sound that you can trust when a call comes in. In other words, a ringtone, chakushin on, then keitai denwa, cell phone, which is, let's see, portable, sash, electricity talk. So electricity talk, aka cell phone, and then it's portable and it goes on your sash, aka it's not just a phone, it's a cell phone. So keitai denwa no chakushinon, keitai denwa no chakushinon. Let's see. Oya kawaii, love between parent and child. Oya kawaii. Yapashi oya kawaii na. So yapashi is another way of saying yapari. See, so as I thought, the love between parent and child. Let's see. Is yapashi kansai ben? Explain in English. Yapashi is a casual variant of yapari, meaning as expected still, okay? Or after all. While it is often associated with Kansai dialect because of its frequent use in that region, it is not exclusively dialectal. It is common colloquially used across Japan in informal speech. Meaning it conveys that something is still the case or happened as anticipated. It derives from the standard yahari, which evolved into yapari, and further shortened to yapashi. So, yapashi, oyako aina. So, as expected, the love between a parent and child.
いい話や、泣ける話や。やっぱし親子愛やな。ケロちゃん、大変、お兄ちゃんの出てる劇が。ケロちゃん。
Kira-chan, Taihin, Oni-chan no, できてる劇が so Kira-chan, there's a big problem. Let's see. Deteru. So Oni-chan deteru. So continuously appearing at Brothers Play. Oh, we're at Brothers Play. Or we're at Brothers Drama. So Kira-chan, there's a problem. We're at Brothers Drama. Well, actually, this is at the subject, so at Brothers Drama would probably be a better way of saying it. So, Kira-chan, Taihen, Oni-chan no deteru geki ga
やっぱし親子愛やな。キャラちゃん大変、お兄ちゃんの出てる劇がなんやで。はは
Nanyate hon. So let's see. Let's see, to be what? And then te, I believe, comes from Toyu. So in other words, I think this is supposed to be like, what did you say? Let's see how accurate that is. So, please explain the grammar of yeah, so hon is basically the sound of like saying like yes, I'm listening. Like it's sort of like uh-huh in English. So nanyate is a contraction in dialect variant of the standard Japanese phrase nan datte or nan to ita. Nan, this means what? Okay, in a variation of nani, which it often changes to nan when followed by certain particles or sounds. Okay, ya, copula, te. This is particle here, used here to indicate hearsay, or to ask for repetition on what was just said. It functions similar to, okay, I think it's asking for like repetition, though whether that's a rhetorical question might be up for debate, depending on the context of the statement. So let's see. Let's see. When combined, nanya te literally translates to what is it that you said? So yeah, so what is it? And then the te is that, is toi or said, or toita said. So nanya te, what did you say? Hun, uh, hun, or uh-huh. Interesting how those both begin with the, have the huh sound in them, but,
キャラちゃん大変、お兄ちゃんの出てる劇がなんやで。は
それは、ミストのカードや、So that's the mist card. So fog mist, so Kiri is what that kanji is. Or it's katakana word of misto. それはミストのカードや。
空ミストのカードや。霧は触れたもん全部腐食させてしまいよる。
霧は
触れたもん全部腐食させてしまいよる。霧は触れたもん全部腐食させてし空ミストのカードや。霧は触れたもん全部腐食させてしまいよる。
霧は触れたもん。As for the mist, something thing, okay. Zenbu completely. Ureru, to touch, to feel. Zenbun, all entire. Okay, and that's made from whole, entire, and then part, portion. Okay, so all parts essentially are Zenbu. Fushoku, rot, decay, erosion. So decay, sour, rot, and then eat. So it's like being eaten by rot, or in other words, decay. Alright, so Fushoku. Fushoku sasete shimai yoru. So so as for touching the mist thing, you're completely end up rotted or decayed. But let's see, why is it? I assume Shimai is from Shimau. But why is Yoru there? Please explain the grammar of this. Why does it end with Shimai Yoru? See, Shimai Yoru is a dialectal contraction of Shite Shimate Iru, indicating that the action has been completed and its result persist. Let's see, Teshimao verb to be completed or done irreversibly. In this context, it emphasizes that the rust. Okay, Yamuk, okay. Teidu indicates continuous state of the result. When combined with Teshimao, it means the state of completion remains. Yoru, this is a regional dialect or form of common in Kansai dialect for Teidu. It is often used in casual speech to emphasize the state or actions. So, Fushoku Sasete Shimai Yoru translates to has completely corroded it and will stay that way, or ended up corroding it completely. The speaker is emphasizing the finality and the irreversibility of the corrosion. Why is the continuous form needed for that? wouldn't shimau or shimata. I know that's right. Shimata is if something just happened. So wouldn't shimau be good enough? Shimau indicates an action is completed, often with a nuance of regret or finality. It describes the moment of completion as a single event. Adding the continuous teiru contracted here to yoru in consonant dialects shifts the focus from the action to the resulting state. So, fushoku sasete shimau. It will corrode everything it touches, or it ends up corroding everything. Focus. This highlights the event of corrosion happening. It sounds like a description of what the fog does whenever it touches something. It implies the action completes, but it doesn't necessarily emphasize the lingering aftermath. Fushoku sasete shimai yoru. It has corroded everything it touches and leaves it that way. This highlights the state resulting from the action. The fog touches an object, the corrosion completes shimadu, and the object remains in that corroded state. Why the continuous form is needed? The continuous form is necessary here to convey that the destruction is permanent and the aftermath is visible now. Okay. In this context of the sentence likely describing a dangerous or cursed fog, the speaker isn't just saying the fog corrodes things, they're emphasizing the horror of the current situation. Everything the fog has touched is currently sitting there completely rotted away. So it permanently destroys everything. It's what they're trying to signify with this. We can explain how shimate, let's see, shimate iru became shimayoru. Let's see. Transformation from shimateiru to shimayoru is a result of two distinct grammatical processes common in Western Japanese dialects like Kansai and vowel elision and dialectal substitution. In casual speech, the vowel e in the te form of shimau is often dropped when followed by iru. So shimateiru, okay, the te plus I connection amplifies. Specifically, shimate-iru contracts to shimatoru. Oh yeah, that's right. The oru coming from the Kansai ben using oru instead of iru. So shimate-oru becomes shimatoru. Many dialects, or in specific case, the te form connects to the verb directly. However, the form in your sentence preserves the I of shimai. The stem of shimau in this conjugation but drops the te. Actually, the more accurate linguistic path for is shimai yoru is shite shimateiru. Let's see. Te shimau. Let's see. To chow or to keep as shimau depending on the region. In this specific construction, it treats shimau as a compound verb base. Let's see, the critical shift is the replacement of the auxiliary iru. Okay, so iru to yoru. The most significant change is the replacement of standard auxiliary verb iru with yoru. Okay, in many Western Japanese dialects, Kansai, Chugoku, Shikoku, and Kyushu, the verb oru is used instead of iru to okay, evolution. process of the te form teoru frequently contracts to toru. The toru variant, okay, the yoru variant, okay. In specific subdialects, particularly in Odo, Kansai, Kyoto, and surrounding areas, the form yoru is used instead of toru or teiru. Linguistics trace yoru to the classical Japanese auxiliary yuru, or a phonetic shift from oru. The initial vowel shifts or the R sound strengthens in specific conjugations. Standard te, okay, te oru, toru. So it's essentially te iru is and Kansai region is toru when contracted, because it's actually te oru, so te oru, toru. But sometimes instead of toru, they say yoru instead. Let's see. But this still is, let's see. Shimatte oru, shimatoru, shimatoru. Yeah, shimatoru. Doesn't explain the I there though. Yoru, the Western Japanese dialect equivalent of Iru. It is let's see. Shimato. It is Shimai Yoru and not Shimatoru though. Let's see, it is Shimai Yoru and not Shimatoru though. Form Shimai is constructed from the continuative form Rin-yo-kei of Shimao directly to Yoru. Base, let's see. Shimaru becomes Shimai. And plus Yoru added to it. So conjugate it with its I stem and then add Yoru to it. In this structure, Yoru acts as a subsidiary verb that attaches to the stem of the preceding verb to indicate a continuing state or ongoing action, similar to how hajimeru to start and oeru to finish attached to the stem of tabe hajimeru. Here it emphasizes a persistent state, or okay. So instead of using the normal continuative form, you can add the yoru attachment to words, and it implies the continuative form. And the yoru attachment attaches to the I stem. 霧が触れたもん全部腐食させてしまいよる。So, as for touching the fog thing, it's going to cause things to be completely eroded away and stay like that permanently. Okay, so 霧は触れたもん全部腐食させてしまいよる。
霧は触れたもん全部腐食。ソラミストのカードや。霧は触れたもん全部腐食させてしまいよる。はよせえな、兄ちゃんの足場も崩れてまうで。
はよせえな。はよせえな。お兄ちゃんの
はよせえな、兄ちゃんの足場も崩れてまうで。足場も崩れて。
Let's see. Hayosena. So se. Yeah, I believe sena is a contraction of shinai. It's like a kansai contraction of shinai. So in other words, I think it's supposed to be like if you don't act quickly. So hayosena. In other words, more literally, if you don't do quickly. Let's see. Oni-chan no ashiba. Foothold, footing, scaffolding, convenience for transport. Okay, so scaffolding is probably so footing place or scaffolding. Ashiba mo kuzurete, to collapse, to crumble, intransitive kuzureru. So kuzurete maude, to finish, to do completely. So in other words, this is probably like shimao. Oh, this is probably shimao. Just they dropped the shi. So kuzurete shimao or kuzurete maude. Let's see. Please explain the grammar of see, the phrase is a contraction of let's see, hayosena, okay, which itself is a dialect variation of hayaku seneba. Oh, that's right. It's so sena is not a contraction of shinai. It's a contraction of let's see, seneba, which is how you which is itself a contraction of let's see. Let's see. Oh yes. せればならないor いけない。Let's see. する。Let's see, the conditional EBA is let's see, past, volitional, presumptive past, present progressive, past progressive, provisional. Yeah, sureba. Okay, so that's what it is. Sureba naranai or sureba ikemasen. So seneba is a Kansai shortening of sureba ikemasen. And here we have an even shorter version of that of sena. And then hayo is a Kansai ben shortening of hayaku. Hayaku becomes hayao, which became hayo. Okay. That's where it came from. In the Heian to Muromachi period, so in other words, if you don't act quickly, I wonder if that's what he's trying to mean. I think scaffolding is probably intended here. So if you don't act quickly, your brother's scaffolding will end up collapsing. So Hayose na Oni-chan no Ashiba mo okay. Kuzurete mau de from kuzureru. Hayose na Oni-chan no Ashiba mo kuzurete mau de.
ソラミストのカードや霧は触れたもん全部腐食させてしまいよる。はよせえな、兄ちゃんの足場も崩れてまうで。そんな。なんとかミストを全部まとめて包んで、足場も崩れてまうで。そんな。
なんとかミストをLet's see. So something missed. Okay. Yeah, Tokai shouldn't how you list things. Please explain the grammar of a frustration, determination, shout of effort, interjection. Somehow, anything, something. In this context, it acts as a placeholder for a specific name or speaker. Using nantoka before a noun like misto suggests the speaker is struggling to remember the exact name or dismissing the importance of the name in favor of action. So it translates to somehow that missed. So somehow or with what way, I guess. With what method. So nantoka misto senbu matomete in one go, all at once, all together, all in one. So matomete, let's see, matomeru, is that a word? Matomeru, to collect. To put in all together, to put it all together. To integrate, to consolidate, to unify. So matomete susunde shimau, to wrap up, to pack up, to bundle. So matomeru, so it has to be collected and wrapped. It has to be all together, collected and end up wrapped. And then dekitara. So if you're able to collect and wrap it up all together and end up wrapping it up all together thing, if you're able to do that thing, then it would be good, but or if you're able to, or when you're able to, it would be good. Okay, so Zenbu matomete tsutsunde shimau. Okay, tsutsunde shimau koto ga dekitara en ya kedo. Zenbu matomete susunde shimau koto ga dekitara en ya kedo. Or the full phrase of ein nantoka ミストを全部まとめて進んでしまうことができたらいいんやけど。So you need to collect and wrap up the mist all together, but so it'd be great if you could just wrap them up. In a full phrase. If you could somehow wrap up all the mist in one go. I don't think it means one go. I think in this case it's trying to give that all together nuance. Completely all together. Tsumu, to wrap. See. Himei or shriek scream, and it comes from Kanashi or regret, sad, deploy, and then cry, naku to cry out, chirp, bark. So Himei. Dareka hashi gomote koi. Let's see. So someone hashigo. Oh, I knew that sounded familiar. Ladder. That's right. Hashigo. Which is also the exact same word used for chopsticks, but not the same kanji. No, that's right. That's hashi for chopsticks. That's right, yeah. Hashigo, ladder. Dareka hashigo motte koi. See, koi. Okay. I believe this is the imperative form of kuru, or to come, or in other words, someone bring a ladder, or dareka hashigo motte koi. Now notice they're using the casual imperative, because, you know, when someone's hanging from a ledge, being polite's not exactly a priority. Kuru. See, imperative plain koi. So dareka hashigo motte koi. Yeah, and the way motte is like to hold, and then koi is come. And the way you say bring in Japanese, you say you come while holding, or in other words, you bring something.
くんまで落ちちゃう。
Kinomoto-kun まで落ちちゃう。So until Kinomoto, let's see, until Kinomote-kun, let's see, let's see, Ochichao. Let's see. Ochiru is to fall. Let's see. Oh yeah, Ochite Shimao. So Ochite Shimao, which gets contracted to Ochichao. So end up falling. So up to the point of Kinomoto-kun is going to end up following. So in other words, I think she's trying to say Kinomoto-kun is going to end up falling as well. Or in other words, you're going to end up falling as well. Even Kinomoto-kun is going to fall. Let's see. Please explain the grammar of but this particle typically means until or up to, but in this context it emphasizes the extent or degree of the action. It suggests that the falling dropping reach Kinomoto-kun, or he is the final destination or outcome of the event. So, but in this context, it emphasizes the degree or extent. So even Kinomoto-kun end up falling or dropping unintentionally, regrettably. So even Kinomoto-kun's going to end up falling, or up to the point of Kinomoto-kun is going to end up falling. So Kinomoto-kun made ochichau.
木之本くんまで落ちちゃう。この高さだったら怪我するぐらいで済むよ。だから
この高さだったら let's see, if this height, okay, let's see. 怪我する ぐらいで済むようだから。So if this height do injury, and then let's see, do injury ぐらい something 済むようだから。この高さだから怪我するぐらい approximately. In this case, why is gurai with a 10 mark? Sumu, to finish, to end, to be completed, to be resolved. Wait, that's right, isn't sumu used? Yeah, sumu is sometimes used like shimau, but with a different context. Let's see if it was this. Let's see if it was this height or at this height. Let's see, 怪我するぐらい。はい、ぐらい。ぐらいで。Let's see. Either it would be fine with just getting injured, or you don't only get hurt and nothing worse. Let's see. The particle gurai indicates a minimum extent or degree, suggesting that while the injury is expected, it is not severe. Final part, dakara, serves as a casual connector, meaning okay, yeah, it's basically because of that, or that's why. So, in this context, it implies that because the potential outcome is merely a minor injury, the speaker is justified in taking the risk, dismissing concern, and explaining a decision. The ellipsis suggested an unspoken conclusion such as, so it's okay, or so let's do it. Okay, so gurai de sumu, a structure meaning to suffice with, about, or to end just, okay, minimizing the severity of the result. Okay, so this actually reminds me of how we saw sumu used previously in this series. When you want to say end up, but you wanted to have it more of a positive nuance instead of a negative nuance, like Shimao has, you use sumu. Now she's trying to downplay it, saying that she's only going to be just get an injury, and as part of the downplaying, she's using sumu instead of shimau. So let's see. この高さだから怪我するぐらい。So they said ぐらい is a particle. Why is it gurai and not hurai. There is no difference between gurai and kurai. They are interchangeable variants of the same word. The choice between them usually comes down to pronunciation ease, casualness, or historical tendencies. The voiced gurai is often preferred after words ending in vowels or nasal sounds like n or m because it flows better. We have it after suru. Okay, for example, saying kore gurai is often easier for native speakers than kore kurai. This is likely why the sentence uses gurai after gurai is perceived as slightly more colloquial and casual, fitting well in spoken conversation. Kurai is sometimes seen as slightly clearer and more formal, making it a safer choice in writing, but both are acceptable in most contexts. Historical rules. Older grammar rules suggest using gurai after nouns and kurai after demonstratives like kono sono, but in modern Japanese, these distinctions have largely disappeared and personal preference or rhythm dictates the choice. In the phrase keiga suru gurai, the speaker likely chose gurai simply because it sounds more natural and emphatic in that casual spoken context. So kurai gurai approximately about. So let's see sub particle sub okay to about the extent of well almost enough that so it's about doing an injury or another word doing an injury. So why is it kega suru and not a kega suru and not another form of suru? Oh yeah, so yeah, another way of thinking of the reason they're using sumu is because uh uh Shimao has a regret connotation to it, and she doesn't want to convey regret. She wants to convey yeah. So she doesn't want to Okay, so Shimao has an implication of regret, and she wants to say like it'll end up happening, but not with regret, which is why she's using sumu, because she's like sort of like this is plain as in like just let me go. It's not unexpected because she's basically implying that she wants him to let her go so that they're not both injured and only she's injured. So it's a decision she wants. So it's not and it's not unexpected. That's why they're using sumu. So この高さだから怪我するぐらいあぐらいですぐらいで済むようだから。See. Wait, so where's this day coming from though? Wait, let's see. So why is sudo used with keiga? Okay. In keiga sudo, and not another form like shite, because the grammatical structure gurai de sumu to end up just about, okay. Modify gurai, okay, the particle degree extent must be preceded by a verb in its dictionary form when describing a hypothetical outcome or the extent of an action. So verb dictionary form plus gurai to the extent of doing verb or just doing verb. In this case, keiga suru to get injured plus gurai to the extent of getting injured or just getting injured. Connection to sumu. The phrase de sumu means to be resolved with or to get off with. It connects to the previous phrase via the particle de. So verb plus gurai plus de plus sumu. Literally translation, it revolves with just about verbing. Okay, so it revolves with just about getting injured. Let's see, keiga shite cannot directly modify gurai. Keiga shita would imply that the injury already happened, changing the meaning to and ended up. Okay, keiga shi incorrect. Okay, stem for gurai. Which de is this? Is the particle of limit or scope. Okay, so in other words, it's delineation. So it's going to resolve with being limited to to the extent of being injured, or approximately being injured. Actually, okay, yeah, this is being used more like a main verb, this sumu, not so much being used like shimau ending, I've noticed. But all the same, sumu doesn't have have that same negative connotation that Shimau does, though. So it'll be completed with just with about being injured, or in other words, at the if it's this height, it'll be completed with about being injured. Or in other words, I'm only going to get injured if I fall from this height. Basically trying to convince them that there's no point in them both getting injured, as the problem is just going to be the negative outcome is just going to be an injury and not death. Or at least that's what she thinks.
木の本くんまで落ちちゃう。この高さだったら怪我するぐらいで済むよ。だから木の本くんまで落ちちゃう。この高さだったら怪我するぐらいで済むよ。だから
高さ okay.
木の本くんまで落ちちゃう。この高さだったら怪我するぐらいで済むよ。だから木の本くん
Tsutsumute, Tsutsumute, so to rap, to say rapping, or ask for rapping. Tsutsumu. To wrap, to shroud, to engulf. Soda, well, that's right.
そうだ。影、すべての霧をその中に包み込め。
影よ、すべての霧をその中に住み込め。So, okay, so sumikomu. So, no, susumikome. Susumikome, or from susumikomu. So, komu gets used when you want to say something is done often or completely. In other words, done extremely well. So, in other words, they're saying to completely wrap all of this. And then Tsutsumi Kome. Yeah, Kiri is the mist. Okay, so Subete no Kiri, so all of the mist. To Sono Nakani, so Sono to the inside. Okay, so notice she's saying Sono. So, when you're speaking to someone, Sono is closer to the person you're speaking to, Kono is closer to you, and Ano is far away from both you and the person you're speaking to. So she's telling the shadow to completely wrap the mist. So she's using Sono, so she wants shadow to put the mist in its naka, or its inside, or in other words, wrapping it around it. So it's shadows inside. And Sono, just like Sono, Kono, and Ano, they show possession. So, Kage yo subete no kiri o sono naka ni susumi kome. Or completely wrap mist inside of you.
ベックの霧をその中に包み込め。シャドウ。汝のあるべき姿に戻れ。
汝あるべきArubeki Sukatani Modore. So, return to your ideal form.
汝のあるべき姿に戻れ。クローカード。
Yoko, so, Kya. Kuga Shorai. So I know Shorai is his Chinese enchant or come forth. Fuka. So wind, air style, manner. Okay, this comes from wind, air, manner. Okay. Splendor, flower, petal, luster. Yeah, it probably does not translate correctly because this is. Let's see. Is this Chinese or Japanese? I think these are Chinese statements. Let's see. Let the splendor begin is its Chinese translation. Bring elegance, Japanese translation. Suspect it means something like wind spirit come forth or something like that. Change or reform. While the character literally translates to wind and historically carries the connotation of qualities, influence, or customs. Okay. Does not refer to wind, spirit, or in this. Okay. Windflower summoning or windflower come forth. Okay. So that's what it means. Yeah, Fuka Shorai or windflower come forth or windflower summoning. Fuka Shorai.
ありがとう。
どうや。
陽子、よかった。
どうや。大丈夫。怪我。
なんと
陽子、よかった。
どうや。大丈夫。
トヤ、大丈夫怪我は So, Toya, are you alright? As for injury, or in other words, is there any injuries?
陽子、よかった。
どうや。大丈夫。怪我。
なんとかな。
なんとかな So somehow, I guess somehow no. Please explain the grammar of let's see, nantoka somehow or in some way. So yeah, this is see nantoka suru. I'll manage it. Let's see, or nantoka naru. It will be okay. So in other words, somehow they were all right, or nantoka na. Though I think this na is the Indian particle na. Let's see. The context is that someone fell from a high place. They were asked if they were injured and responded with this. So, in the context of someone falling from a high place and being asked if they were injured, the response nanto kana is almost certainly a clipped, casual, or slurred version of nanto kanaru. So it will work out, or I'll be fine, or somehow it will be okay. The speaker dismisses the severity of the fall. Okay, there's certain it's okay. In this specific context, the final could this be that Naru was dropped and this is the ending particle? Alternatively, it could be a sentence in any particle not added for self-affirmation. Okay, so in other words, somehow. Or in some way. In other words, somehow I'm okay.
なんとかな。
大丈夫、怪我は。
なんとかな。
質問がありますか? Are there any questions? If not, we're going to raid, so please stick around for the raid. Hmm. We're gonna raid Sindral's Productions, who's currently drawing right now. Let's see, for the second raid, we're going to raid okay, the second raid, we're gonna raid Kamichi Yuko, who's currently learning a language. See, for the third raid, we're gonna raid Rotella Streams, who's currently playing I think it's Fountain of Youth or something like that. So, 皆さん、お気をつけて、また明日。Goodbye everyone, see you tomorrow.